Motion is lost. Now we are back to the Finance Committee motion to amend. And I will read the motion. I move to amend the bottom line of the education budget to $8,380,279 with $8,250,809 to be raised and appropriated, and to transfer $129,470 from the stabilization fund. On the motion to amend, that's the Finance Committee amendment. Point of information. Mrs. Patton, state your point of information, please. No, this is a motion to amend. This does not have to pass by a 2/3 vote. If this amendment passes, then the main motion, as amended, will have to pass by a 2/3 vote. But the amendment itself only requires a simple majority. Okay? Now, on the Finance Committee amendment, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. The chair is in doubt. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And will my tellers please go to work? Mr. Piero, Mr. Quayle, and Mr. Reitmeier. Mr. Reitmeier.
16.
16. Mr. Quayle. 20. Mr. Piero. 31. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. Mr. Reitmeier.
We're supposed to be counting the gentleman down here in the front, first 3 rows. Aren't they reserved, sir?
They're not supposed to be registered voters in the first 3 rows, but if you've counted them, you've done all right.
35.
35. Mr. Piero. 35. You too, 35. Mr. Quayle. 52. The motion to amend has 67 votes in favor, 122 in opposition. The motion is lost. We are now back to the main motion without amendments, which is that the town vote to raise by taxation and appropriate the sum of $8,450,279 for the support of the public schools as printed on page 30 of the warrant under the sponsor's recommendation. This motion requires a simple majority. Mr. Quayle.
Mr. Moderator, I move to amend the school department budget to reduce from $450,279 to $8 million, to raise and appropriate $8,320,809, and to transfer from the stabilization fund the amount of $129,470.
Could I have the motion in writing, Mr. Quayle, please?
Point of information, Mr. Moderator. Could we ask the Finance Committee to achieve Mr. Quayle's objective, which I think is to balance the budget, should that $70,000 also be added to his figure for stabilization? I believe it should be $199,000 rather than $120,000.
We'll take Mr. Quayle's motion as soon as the chair has it in writing, and the Finance Committee will be requested to provide an opinion in regards to it. The motion is to amend line items 56 through 100 to raise and appropriate $8,320,809 and transfer $129,470 from the stabilization fund. I believe that the impact of this would be, pardon me, it's, the chair misread. It's $129,470 to be transferred from the stabilization fund. The impact of this motion would be to change the mode of funding, but to leave the bottom line unchanged. Would Mrs. Holsing, would you care to give the Finance Committee's point of view on this motion, which is basically to preserve the $129,470 transfer from the stabilization fund? Mrs. Holsing.
The Finance Committee recommends.
Okay, Mr. Jervie. Mr. Jervie.
I was just going to suggest that we wait until we get to the big section that we skipped, so pensions and benefits. There's the issue of the $70,000 difference between the school committee's request and the Finance Committee's budget. There's also the issue of a few other items that have been approved in excess of the original Finance Committee recommendations. There's still a Board of Appeals to be looked at. I think if we put it off until the end and did it all as one item, then we'd be sure we were getting the right number.
Any further discussion? Mr. Quayle, on your motion.
Now, my only objective is to see to it that we get through this meeting and stay within the bounds of the Prop 2.5. I'm most reluctant to have it go out to a vote by the general public, because they'll shoot down anything. If the people won't come to these meetings, there's definitely a bunch of naysayers, in my opinion. And I would like to see it taken out of their hands and held in the hands of the people who have enough responsibility to come in here and conduct the town business.
Mrs. Holsing.
The Finance Committee supports Mr. Quayle's amendment for the $129,000 from free cash.
Stabilization fund.
Stabilization fund, sorry. We want you as town meeting members to really show your strength. If you vote his amendment in a 2/3 or greater amount, you are really sending a message to the school committee. We want those teachers. We want those positions. If you don't vote that, yes, they will have their money, but you're not voicing your strength as a town meeting. We support the teachers. We support having these extra positions. However, we're looking at a short amount of funding, and that $129,000, yes, we may be able to find it somewhere else, but then again, we may not, and we may be back here in October again like we were last year. So we supported our amendment for the $129,000 from stabilization, and we support Mr. Quayle's, and we hope you as a town meeting will show your strength and also support it so they can be fully funded, but with some of it coming from stabilization, so we can leave here balanced and they can start the school year with a full complement of teachers.
Mr. Goodwin, please state your name and address.
Bill Goodwin, 16 Emerson Road. I don't know if this goes to finance or the school committee. It's on facilities. We have custodial, is line 60, which is $381,000.
Mr. Goodwin, the motion before us is a motion to amend the change to mode of funding, which relates to line item number 56, and only line item 56. If your comment is...
Excuse Mr. Moderator. You go the total amount on the budget, which is $8,380,279.
We're now, Mr. Goodwin, we're now back to $8,450,279, and the motion to amend, which is the only motion on which debate is permitted now, is an amendment to change the mode of funding, but not to change the bottom line. And the mode of funding only relates to line item number 56. All the other line items are not included in the motion that is before us right now. So your comments may be appropriate at a later time after we have acted on the present amendment, and the chair will recognize you at that time for the purpose of your comments. Mr. Hernandez. On the motion to amend, and only on the motion to amend.
Yes. On the motion to amend, the school committee voted not to recommend Mr. Quayle's amendment. That is the specific reason why many weeks ago on line item 23, pensions and benefits, we had passed over it in order to finish off the town and school budget, and then from there figure out how to fund the rest of the warrant articles in town meeting. I also heard comments regarding 2.5 and various other problems that we could possibly face tonight. And I can honestly say that the members of the school committee do not want a 2.5 override, and that if you follow our recommendations are set that 1, the school budget is passed in the total amount that we are asking for, and 2, we do not have a 2.5 situation. 2.5 is divisive. It taxes retired people, it taxes children, and we will not endorse a situation that will put us in that way. Therefore, please follow our recommendations not to recommend Mr. Quayle's amendment and to vote in favor of the original main motion. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh. On the motion to amend.
5-cent iron way. I'm somewhat confused. As I understand it, the school committee gets a total number, and they can do what they wish with that number. Now we're trying to tell them specifically on line 46 that $129,000 plus some odd change, to half a cent or something, each person, they have to use that on line 46. Can we do that?
The way the budget is explained is that the transfer of $129,470 from the stabilization fund applies to the sum of $4,985,909, which is the line that has the asterisk under line item number 56. It does not apply to any of the other line items. Now, in terms of the other thing that you may be referring to, the school, if you vote in favor of the amendment, which is to transfer a certain amount from the stabilization fund, then the entire school budget will require a 2/3 vote by the meeting. If you do not vote for the transfer from the stabilization fund, the $129,470, if you vote against the amendment, then the entire school budget can be adopted by a simple majority of the people present and voting at this meeting.
Are you telling me that if we vote for this $129,470 in stabilization fund, the school committee must use that for salaries?
No.
The answer is that the motion is couched in terms of the presentation on page 30 of the warrant. And the presentation on page 30 of the warrant shows to which sector